feel the industry is moving here? What's your first impression here?
My first impression is that I'm actually incredibly impressed by the scale of what you've brought together. I mean, the most important thing on building an ecosystem is bringing people together. And it's a multiplying effect. The more people you bring together, the more powerful it becomes. I did not expect this.
Really?
Yes, I did. That's remarkable. It's a great first question because which was, what's the challenge facing Netflix today? And so I need to give you a quick caveat, which is I no longer work at Netflix. I haven't worked there for nearly a dozen years. So my answers might not necessarily represent what Netflix believes are their challenges. I think the challenge Netflix has is it has to make sure that it stays relevant as the world changes. I know Netflix's DNA. I know they always think about what's the future. I know they're always willing to invest in the future. They're always willing to say, these things were yesterday and this is tomorrow. And I see it over and over again in their transition from being a DVD company to a streaming company, from being a streaming company to being a content producing company, from being a domestic content producing company to being an international content producing company. At every step, I'm just so impressed with seeing the things they're doing to make sure they stay relevant to their audience and their future audience. And I'm sure they're saying, we're going to stay focused on that going forward.
Very nice to meet you, Mark. You're such a nice person. Your speech there was amazing because we could realize how you build up your company and your dreams becoming true. And now is the moment in Brazil. The dreams are becoming true, and that is too fast, really fast. How do you see this speed of the changes? Because all the predictions came into us 2030, then it gets down to 2025, 22, and now we're talking about 2019 until the end of the year. Everything is changing. Or you are in internet, in e-commerce easily, or you are out. How do you see that speed, and how you suggest us to be prepared for that speeding?
Things are absolutely moving faster and faster, and half the world is terrified of that, and half the world sees that as opportunity. And the way you respond to those two things depends upon which side of the divide you're on. I spend a lot of time working with the early stage companies, and I'll even say with developing countries, or redeveloping countries, if I can call it that, and who are saying this is an amazing opportunity. The world order is changing. For example, 20 years ago, 90+% of venture investment took place in the United States. 10 years ago, 80%. Now, 53%. And it's because the world is shifting around, and those countries, those companies who are poised to take advantage of these changes are going to thrive. On the other side, though, I spend a lot of time, too much time, working with companies which are scared to death because they're the old guard. They've got 20,000 employees or more who are all been trained to go A, then B, then C. And their competitors are jumping right to X. And so I'm on the one side. I love how fast it's changing. And I think one of the reasons I spend so much time internationally is so much of it is happening here.
Hello. You answered about your leaving the Netflix, but I want to know if you have any regrets to leave Netflix, and regrets because now Netflix have the power to influence the pop culture and stuff like that. So it's a big power. You have soft power to influence the people. So you have any regrets about this? Not influence.
The quick answer is yes and no. One of the things I really believe is that as you get older, if you're lucky, you figure out two things. You figure out what you like, and you figure out what you're good at. And I figured out quite a while ago that I love starting early stage companies, and I learned that I'm really good at that. And I learned that I don't like it necessarily when companies are really large, and I'm not very good at it either. And one of the things I had to do was recognize I had this dream of starting this company. And I began to realize that the dream of the company and the dream of my place in it were different. And I had to say, what's the bigger dream that I really want to make sure happens? And in this case, it was having Netflix be successful. And it became evident to me there was better people than me to do that. In terms of the happiness thing, I do regret a little bit that I can't be sitting around that conference table sometimes when some of these really interesting conversations and decisions take place. But I get to spend 99.9% of my time now working with early entrepreneurs, and I love that. I get to spend a lot of time with my family. I get to spend a week coming to explore a new city. I think Reed, who is still there, is happiest guy in the world because he's running Netflix and changing the world. And I'm the happiest guy in the world because I'm doing the things that make me whole.
Last one, and he needs to leave.
Okay, it's a 1 in 2. It's 2 in 1 question. Hi. Do you think you said Netflix has the ability to tell future from past? So do you think cable TV is a dying business? Would you ever invest in TV, or is it part of the past now? And my second question is, do you think Netflix should do, such as other companies, technology companies like Facebook, and acquire its competitors?
So unfortunately, I don't know the answer to either of those questions, and I'm being sincere. And the last thing you'd want me to do is give you an opinion that I know nothing about. And the answer is those are both very Netflix-specific now questions. So I'm gonna, as they say in the United States, take the Fifth Amendment. That anything I say will be wrong. Okay. Is that okay? I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay.
So could you just tell us a little bit how, because you're head of Netflix for a long time, how did you manage to keep low prices and broaden your catalog?
It's a scale issue, which is that you have a virtuous cycle, which is that the more subscribers you have, the more you can afford to spend on content. The better your content gets, the more subscribers you attract. The more you attract, the more you can spend on content. And so one of the big advantages Netflix has in the short term is a very, very large subscriber base, in that they can afford to take risks on content, to spend money on content. But I promise you, they are not resting on their laurels, as they say. They recognize there's plenty of other companies who have lots of money to spend on content. And if they don't continue to do the most fundamental thing, which is make sure this content meets the tastes and the needs of the audience, that allegiance that people have to Netflix will shift in a heartbeat. They're very, very focused on getting it right. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for the question.